Hey guys. Oh. Hey guys, going live in just a little bit on Facebook and on YouTube with DAHL Media. So check me out there. We're going to have our day's events and our weekend review and some stuff about Wisconsin. Of course, with me, I'm going to talk Wisconsin all the time. So come on out and watch me in just a little bit. About 10:30, we're going to get started right here. So find me on DAHL Media or just find me on my page on Facebook. See you in a few. So I'll tell you, the things they want to talk about, the things I want to talk about are kind of crazy. It's stupid stuff in Jeff's head for 200, Alex. What are we talking about, Jeff?
Dang.
Well, hello everybody, and this is what we're talking about. We are coming on live right now for episode 12. I'm getting there. I'm building some content, and I hope you guys are enjoying that too. All the kinds of stuff about Wisconsin and music and sports and maybe a little bit more of opinion after that. But, you know, it's all stuff that I experience and what I see, and from my perspective, it's what are we talking about, Jeff? Good to see you guys out here today. Excited to show you another artist from Wisconsin. I shouldn't say new. He's been around a little bit now, and I'm kind of excited about that. Kind of gave it away. I'll give you that in just a bit. Kind of the rundown. I'm going to go right into sports because You know me, I'm a sports guy somewhere at heart. I've got sports on the brain all the time. So last night, the big controversy. That's right. We're going to talk about the Bucks. Not like massive controversy, but some people were a little rattled that Giannis got his triple double by bouncing the ball off the side of the rim. And if I could have all the rights to show you the video, I would. It was funny as all get out. Now, if LeBron would have done something like this, I'm sure they would have tore him apart. I guess we just fun loved Giannis so much. It was actually kind of funny. The fact that he didn't score or try to score, but yet it seemed like odd that they let him go all the way to the rim. Maybe they were being nice. I don't know. But he went right up there and touched the ball. He bounced the ball off the back of the rim, not even, trying to get it in the rim, but off the side in the backboard, and ended up grabbing it, and he got the official 10th rebound. He was on fire on assists last night, and it was crazy. They still lost. But did they? Wait, maybe I got that wrong. I think they won. Never mind. No, what I did see, okay, last night, the big one that got me was Carter was on fire with the threes when he'd come in, again, that energy taker that we were talking about. And one of the other things, or energy starter, excuse me, he just lights up when he goes crazy and moves around that floor. Holiday was hot. Allen was busting butt. There was a number of assists that went to Grayson Allen again. So I'm telling you, you could see it, the chemistry there. Of Giannis giving assists. They showed 2 3-pointers going into break off of everything, and it was Giannis handing it right to Grayson and making threes. So there was that. Lopez was hot. I think everybody was just on. Ingles was just pushing his 3-shot as well, and working probably every angle he could for refs and everything else. But just all around facets last night were very great. And I got to tell you, we talked about this a number of episodes earlier with the Bucks, how the only thing I felt lacking was probably transition. I think Bucks and Badgers, right? I felt like transition was lacking. Transition in general, like you're not getting the runaway buckets. And what we saw by halftime, there was a stat that popped up this last game, 17-2 on fast break points for the Bucks. Just, yeah, you know what I mean? And then same thing with the Badgers, just totally had more fast breaks last night, more effort all the way around, which was really big for the Badgers to stay in the hunt against Minnesota. But now, that being said, the Bucks drop a tough one against the 76ers. Going to be a tough battle. They get a huge lift by the Knicks last night, beating Boston. So really killer on that token, that now we can get that 2-game push. And your number 1 seed's great, but we were here before. We talked about this last episode. We were here before, and so now I'm sure they want to solidify it. But when you look at what's coming off the bench, my goodness, you've got, they almost, except for Drew Holiday on the floor, they had all big men. And I would consider, I always have a tough time with Crowder. I would consider Crowder still kind of a big man. He played small forward most of the day, but there was a time there where it was literally he was playing shooting guard, and they had brought Ingles in, they brought Lopez in, Antetokounmpo, and then you had Holiday. I mean, shoot, if they bring in Connaughton, or they bring in, they had the tall lineup. I mean, it was just crazy how they could still run, still pass. A 2-man game between Ingles and Lopez. I mean, really? You're over 6'8" between the two of them. They're both over 6'8". They're still dribbling around people and running by people. It was the way you hope they would look. And Budenholzer's got a plethora of things he can do with that group. There really is not much they can't do. Obviously, I think moving into the Badgers too, the one thing that probably both of these teams need to watch out about is just the fact that they do let teams back in. So, I mean, the beautiful thing is the Bucks can turn on the gas, but the Badgers, we were concerned. They were down. they were down, and we thought, oh, all the pundits feel this way too. They're not exactly the team to run back. They're not going to get into a streak. Well, they did. They got into quite a big streak last night, but what they did is they got Minnesota in foul trouble hard. Now, the Bucks did this too in the coming into the third quarter. They got 5 fouls on Washington like that, right? And so it was one of those things where third quarter they got fouls up the yin yang. It was 5-0 in fouls. Now with the Badgers, it was kind of the same thing too. Is when they came back out, they right away got 4 or 5 fouls on Minnesota, and were able to close the gap that way. But really, closing the gap wasn't the big deal. But the fact that they would have bonus early and they would get free throws, really, you could see it right off the bat. That was Greg Gard's purpose, was let's get high fouls on these guys so they're letting you to the rim. Let's get high fouls on them so you're getting free throws when you're getting fouled wherever you are on the court. And that will be our comeback. And sure enough, it showed. And the free throws, with Minnesota having a number of freshmen who did quite well, I will add, who did quite well. But, Wisconsin was able to hold them off. But now we're talking about a team who is rising back up. They're figuring themselves out as a team in Minnesota. They haven't been great. They're 2-19. So, excuse me.
Woo!
Don't go. So they're 2-19, but they had a big win over Rutgers. And number 10, I won't get his last name right now, but number 10 for Minnesota, quite the tall guy shooting threes and seems to be their clutch guy, but free throws got the best of him. And so Minnesota's going to learn that, quickly. They're a young team. So are the Badgers. I mean, shoot, Tyler Wall's a junior. You've got Hepburn, who's only a sophomore. And really, now with Hepburn, the big thing was he wants to take a shot. He wants the ball, which is great. You want that quality in him. Last night, he finally became the Davidson of the group, took the charges, decided to kind of get the team fired up at a certain point and do it with his play as well. And probably nowhere near as controversial, which is nice. I'd like to see a couple more guys like that. We did get that out of 2 more guys that have all the ability. And they're so young. So I'm excited to see what the Badgers can do out of the season. I was concerned this was going to be the downfall of Greg Gard with the season going to the losing side on some of this. But they're holding the fort, and them and Michigan are just going to be pounding each other. They need a couple of wins in the tournament, and they could end up seeing Michigan. They could end up seeing, they're going to get Ohio State right away. They could end up seeing Michigan somewhere in this travel, and they could end up seeing Michigan State if they can beat Purdue. Purdue's a tough one. They came close to beating Purdue, though. And I got to tell you, Edey made a really offensible maneuver against Illinois where he shoved a guy to the ground and literally hurt his tailbone. I was kind of blown away that he got away with that. Edey, if I could show you guys, go back and look at it. Play against Illinois. Just type in tailbone. You'll probably catch it. He shoved this. He got up, went straight up, and then came down trying to fumble for the ball, and he just decided to shove the guy straight down. And it was blatant. Whether it was frustration or not, he pushed him straight down to the ground. He's already 7'4", 7'1" at least. You're already the biggest guy in the court. You could have stood there, stayed straight up, and this guy had no chance, but you shove him to the ground. To me, he should be suspended. To me, he should have been taken out of the game. It was egregious. I mean, he literally hurt this guy and didn't care. And I mean, maybe he gets talked to or whatever, and he's a quiet guy. Maybe he has a language barrier or whatever, so he stays quiet. So it didn't seem like, I mean, he wasn't talking trash or anything, but he certainly, he was kind of Drago with it all. So I don't know. Just my opinion. Just seems like it was way too egregious to just let go. And in NBA, they would have been looking at a flagrant one by far. So just me. All right, going to high school sports. Well, I got to tell you, this is a personal one. Marion played Pacelli in the first round. Pacelli did a number on them. Now, Marion looked really good. They won the CWC North, and they come in with all hopes and weren't able to. Well, Port Edwards, where my kids are going now, ended up getting them right after. So Port did a good job, won fairly nicely against, I believe it was Edgar. And then and Edgar was ranked 3rd, and Pacelli's ranked 2nd in the whole Division 5 thing, and Marion was, I believe, 10th, and Port Edwards was 6th. So Port beating the 3rd place by about a 6 to 7 point window. Excuse me. Maybe they have a chance, right? So we were hoping, but Pacelli did not quite treat Port like they did Marion, but they still have the ability. But now I think it's starting to show. Pacelli's going to see it's going to get tighter and tighter, and they obviously have the first place team to face yet. So I'm not sure if that's Auburndale or who that would be. I know Bondwell was in the mix of a bunch of stuff too, but so it's just hard hometown-wise to see Marion and Port go down to Pacelli, but you know, let's see what Pacelli does from here. Going on to NASCAR, Chase out snowboarding, what, a day and a half before the race in Las Vegas. To me, this is controversy. What is he doing out snowboarding? He can take a break, whatever. You know, the guy, he's made enough money for Hendricks and whatnot, and he can take some personal time or whatever. But this seems strange to me that you're literally 3 races in to the season and you're already just deciding you're going to go on a vacation now and to go snowboarding. I mean, in the NFL, that happened to 2 guys, got hurt on a motorcycle, and they put a clause in their contract said no motorcycle riding. At first it was not during the season. Now it's not at all. So I don't think you can motorcycle ride necessarily, or you're not supposed to. It's frowned upon in the NFL. I can't believe NASCAR is, you know, they're worried about Chase's health. I'm worried about Chase's health. But this was a blow because, I mean, his guy, Josh Berry, who replaced him, could not get off the schneid, ended up a lap down, got onto the main lap again one time, but just was frustrated the whole day. And I mean, we're not, you know, even Heather talked to me, said, we're not expecting Josh Berry to hold down the fort, right? And I thought to myself, well, I don't know. I mean, he's called up here. They could go back and ask Junior and somebody else to come up and drive if they wanted to. But in this case, you know, we wish the best for Chase. I'm a huge fan of Chase right now. I was a Dale Jr. fan. Maybe I go with the flow of the crowd, maybe, but I do like Chase a lot. But I like his dad, Bill, mainly because he drove Thunderbirds. Chase isn't in Fords this year, but you know, again, I don't hate Chevy or Ford either, so it doesn't bother me really in that way. But shame to see Chase out for a couple weeks. He'll probably be at least 6 weeks. I get the funny feeling. That's my call. That's not what they said. They said indefinitely, or could be, you know, if Chase is fired up enough, it may be 4 weeks and he'll be wearing a brace, you know, because I'm pretty sure, I think Kyle Busch, it took 8 weeks, or Kyle. It took like 8 weeks when the 2015 accident happened. So, but Hendricks still gets to win. Hendricks dominates. That's part of the story too. Hendricks dominates here with Byron, Bowman, and Larson riding up front most of the race and even through the pit stops. And the Gibbs team started figuring it out. They really were riding the wheel there with Truex and Hamlin really pounding it out. Now Hamlin's not with Gibbs anymore. Excuse me. Hamlin's with Jordan. So here's another one for you. So the Camry crew started figuring it out because even Bubba Wallace got 4th. I'm not a huge fan, but Bubba hung around in 8th and made some moves in that last sector that gave him 4th place. You know, maybe this is the turning point for Bubba where he starts really getting it figured out, and maybe Jordan finally puts some more money into what he's doing. So, but Hendricks, these long tracks, 2-milers and such, Hendricks is still pretty daggum good. So, going to be pretty tough to beat, but it was nice to see a few teams, you know, make some shows in there and jump out in there. How loose some of these teams were in the NASCAR racing. There was a lot of tight and wobbles because the car was tight, and then once it breaks, it's all over. There was a lot of that. And Tyler Reddick was one of them. Tyler Reddick was seat of his pants, but Jimmy Johnson says loose is fast. And Jimmy Johnson always liked it loose rather than tight, because tight you just can't do anything, and when you do wipe out, it's gone. And so at least with loose, you can control your sliding. You can, you're already kind of sliding into a phase that you can actually read it as it's happening and make reactions a little smoother instead of quick and hard. And when your car's tight, it's just going to yank its turns, and you'll oversteer everything. Whereas if it's loose, you can steer subtly into it and get back out. And so you saw plenty of that from the Hendricks team staying they were almost perfect, though. There was not a lot of sliding from the Hendricks teams, nothing. So that's my NASCAR take. All right, so in the first 20 minutes here, we've already covered pretty much all the sports. I'm going to get you my favorite Wisconsin artists coming up. But one last thing to finish out the stuff, and I said I should probably go to the other side. The wife's a fan. I'm going to go to the Vikings here, everybody. Now, what I just saw this morning is they are probably going to be releasing Kendricks, the middle linebacker, 31 years old, still a really good player. So, but they need cap space. They needed, as of yesterday, this morning, to clear 25 million, something like that. And I think they move, I think it was like 9 or 21 with Kendricks. And there's some big names. They're already probably going to move on. We've seen the drama already with our old boy, Smith. He's probably gone, so his numbers will move on, help cap space. One that really gets you, Harrison Smith. I was, as a Packer loyalist, I think you still respect really good players, and he's one of them. If they release him, they're going to let him go and re-sign. I think Harrison wants to retire a Viking, and he's just too good to let go. If anything, they restructure. I can't see them dropping him. But you got DAHL Hunter, who's also on the fence, and if he doesn't have Smith, his game doesn't get better. He's kind of out. They've moved to a 3-4 from a 4-3. DAHL was a 4-3 guy who at least shined in a 3-4 this year, having Smith on the other side. Without Smith, DAHL's going to be relied on a lot more, and can he handle that? I don't know. So look for linebackers for the draft of the Vikings. Look for defense heavy for the Vikings as well, because they're going to hold on to their offensive stars. The only question would be Cooks, right? Injury-wise, Cooks would be the one. But Minnesota's kind of clearing money. I can't fathom that they're going to try and make this a complete turnover on the defense. But with Ed Donatel there, you just never know. Ed did great in his first year or so with the Packers, but he was becoming predictable later in, and he went to the Miami Dolphins doing the same. So we'll see. All right, so we've made it just about in our first 20 minutes, so just want to give you station identification and let you know you're watching DAHL Media. So I'll tell you, the things they want to talk about, the things I want to talk about are kind of crazy. It's stupid stuff in Jeff's head for 200, Alex. What are we talking about, Jeff? That's right. Like and subscribe right here. You can hit the bell if you like what you're watching. Would love to see you again on YouTube as well with DAHL Media. We're doing all we can to bring DAHL Media Wisconsin entertainment, sports, anything Wisconsin from my perspective, I guess, but and other entertainment, including the Landon Way, which will have new episodes coming very soon. We shot a kind of a return video. It's been 5 years since we tried our first episodes, and you can see how green we are and learning that stuff. Now we're I would say we're a little more savvy. Heather joined me on one of the episodes here with What Are We Talking About, Jeff? More exciting stuff to come from DAHL Media as well. So we really would love to see you out there. Like and subscribe, hit the bell to know when I'm coming live and when we have more episodes coming for you. I'm dedicated to this right now. It's just really going well as far as getting the news out there of artists I really love. And I've seen now, I've had a few of you out there online very kind to friend me on Facebook and whatnot, that are also Wisconsin music supporters, and they're just and industry supporters out there jumping out with me. And there's a Wisconsin media out there that's, I see a lot of more of the metal and rap style music featured on some of these shows. And I guess I'm leaning towards the country side of things, but I'll have some of my favorite pop and rock artists on here as well. I'm sure I'll have a few metal artists and whatnot too, and the excitement. And I'm gonna have my critiques too. I think just it's from my perspective. It's all from my perspective. Never take it personally. You keep rocking and doing what you do, and success can happen as long as you find the path and avenue that feeds what you're doing. And that's the biggest thing. I mean, that success happened for me too, right? There's somebody out there critiquing me and doing the same. So no matter what I say, it's just my opinion. Never take it too concerned, right? Well, I'm going to throw this out there. This next guy I'm about to put on for you, just really as a human being, when I first met him, was pretty killer. And he told me a story, and I was all proud of this story, and I'm still kind of wondering if it's something I should always be proud of. But it did lead to his music career and him starting something and trying something. It was kind of the same way for me. I performed a show. I'll tell you mine. I performed a show, first time ever being taped, singing at a high school. And then I went out on a blind date like a week later. We actually went over to a friend's house. It was a double date, and they had the videotape from the first recording of me ever singing. I tell this story at my shows. Come on out and see me play. As a matter of fact, I'll toss that out there. I'm playing at Rookies. That's right. So I'll be out at Rookies Sports Pub in Stevens Point while we're talking about it. I'll be there at 8 o'clock on Thursday. Come on and see me there on the 9th. And then I believe the 11th. I'm out playing this weekend as well. Come hang with me in Madison on Friday if you want. I'll be down at Red Rock just hanging out with everybody. But yeah, so I did this. I saw that I was put on this blind date. I went and saw myself sing for the first time. Some comments were made in the back of the videotape about how hot this young guy was. I was embarrassed, so I'll get out. Come to find out, it was the blind date I was put on was the girl making the videotape. So I said I'll be a singer the rest of my life after that moment. So that being said, the story that this guy told me, Mr. Jay Mathis, he told me a story about how he came to see me at Kelly's Bleachers, and he was on a date, and his words to me, which I'll leave for what they're worth. His words to me were, "You got me laid that day." I'm not sure how I should take that. I figured something good happened, but he must have been singing in her ear, and he probably did all that work himself, because if you can sing like that, even in the heat of the moment, you got some talent there. And I think he discovered that too. And he turned it into wanting to make a music career out of. You see his Reverb Nation page here, everybody. We are brothers on Reverb Nation. He's number 2 in the Milwaukee area. I don't take that too thick. If you're active, you should be in the top tier of your percentage grouping of how many people could be in the Milwaukee area. I'm in Rapids. I just turned number 1 again, and it's only because now I'm feeding the songs out there for people to listen to, and that's all it takes sometimes. And you can remain in the top percentages of where your market is. And so Jay, number 2 listed on here, and I see a couple of artists I know on that list, pretty well prominent. So, proud of Jay. He let me in on his first recording, which was The Light. I remember hanging out with him, just a cool day at the studio and evening time. And Jay has gone on to just start doing really great live shows. And I've got a track for you. It's not going to be the one I think he would think I would pick, but he did do some more recording since The Light, and his style has toned fuller and just with some artistic value. I really am proud of him. His first take to me was a little bit of, I think there was a Jason Mraz influence to me. There was a lot of that songwriter with funk style almost a Dave Matthews take and whatnot. And as he's come along in his writing and his storytelling, he's now, it sounds strange, he's qualified himself into this country Americana pop realm. But he's, the good news is he's making his own path in his writing. And his writing gives you depth. And one song that really stood out to me that I think you guys need to hear, as I'll scroll into this, one song I think you need to hear is this particular song right here.
I watch the green grass dance in the sun, from the shade of an oak when the day's work was done. And I felt the chill of a westerly wind. I was miles from home when the storm clouds rolled in, and the horses they run along the barbed wire, and the foxes they move through the field. They say no one knows which way the wind will blow, but sometimes I feel like the only one who don't.
It's great sound.
I walked in wet and I looked round the room.
There's a little bit of Bruce Springsteen in
windows and curtains in blue.
Yeah, no, there you go, guys. I mean, just really great. And Jay, keep it going, keep it rolling. Now, I wanted to show you guys some stuff on there too. Remember how we were talking about supporting each other and going crazy? I got to tell you, this is a couple of former players for me right here. Mr. Elliot Paulin, Rebel Grace fame, and Jack Camian from Martial Law, played with me for many years, and just proud of what they're doing to support local music in general. His producer right here, excellent guy, does a great job. And of course, you see it. There he is, Mr. Miles Wanger, and playing lead guitar as well. Just, so proud of the industry supporting each other and jumping in and making waves and giving a chance here. Here's another one too. Here you go, singing the national anthem. Jay also getting an opportunity to sing for the Bucks pregame in the atriums. Something I love doing as well. Just some great shots here, Jay, in general. Good job, man. So go out there, see Jay Mathis, find him at .com as well. We'll go back to his profile so I can get you those. Yep, he's got jmathis.com, Facebook, Jay Mathis Music, Twitter, Jay Mathis. So got plenty of great stuff out there. He also is a finalist with Good Looking Woman, which is the top track he's got right now in the International Songwriting Competition of 2020. So he spent his 2020 making hay, right? That's what we did in music. We either did it or we didn't in 2020. We found a way to keep advancing. So Jay, proud of you. My artist of the day from Wisconsin. There you go. All right. So that being said, like I said, I'll be out at Rookie Sports Pub on Thursday. You guys, if you got any comments, any cool things you want to share about the music that I just played, the sports I was talking about, jump those out here with me, please. I want to hear your opinions. I need more of your opinions. I don't want to be lazy in what I'm doing here. I need you guys to chime in if you feel something great. I think we're also going to talk about in the next few shows, we're going to move around the state as well. I want to talk about more venues. I think right now we're going to talk about one venue that to me had a pretty big weekend, and that was AJ's in Muskego. I got lucky enough to play it once or twice, I believe. Ran sound there a couple times, and it's a unique room. It typically was designed as a restaurant initially, and I think we could have all of our opinions on what we could do for load-in at some of these places. It's a tougher setup for the setup people, so we have to take most of the afternoon kind of working on the setup to get it just right. But the atmosphere, once the lights go down and our lights go up and the sound comes on, the atmosphere there is pretty impressive. So I got to say, you guys check out AJ's in Muskego. They just had cherry pie. I believe they had Bella Cane not that long ago. They're big proponents of Rebel Grace as well. So, definitely get a chance to see AJ's when the band's firing up. And then go support them during the day with great food, great drinks. Come on. So it's hidden a little ways away in Muskego, just off the beaten path of 45, 36 out in there, and just south of Moreland Road, where Moreland Road comes out by the end. It's Durham Road by the end of it all, but you just take Moreland Road straight down. You'll end up coming out right not far from Boxhorn Road, and that'll take you back in there to AJ's in Muskego. So places and venues, AJ's in Muskego today. Music in general for me, a little bit of a lull. Just got stuff behind the scenes getting built up quite a bit with the Petty Things. If you guys haven't seen that, it'll be pettythings.trib on Facebook. And the High Country, we're waiting for fall, I think, and a lot of it. We're getting State Fair. We got that. There's a church festival being looked at right now. There's a few other major summer dates. I'm not worried about playing in mass just yet, as my health is still hanging in the balance a little bit with my injury, my military injury and whatnot. So I'm just trying to, stay status quo and do things the best I can to make sure we're bringing you great music and I can give you all my energy every time I'm on stage. So, I thank you guys for watching. My name is Geoff Landon. Lots of fun stuff to talk about yet. We ain't done yet. We ain't going nowhere. You guys jump online and hang out with me. I'm having my quick trip Karuba coffee right there. Yeah. So I like my quick trip. Welcome to Wisconsin. I'm not sponsored, just stuff that Jeff does. I got my water with my Brewers baseball cup as well. So I like to support my Brewers. What's up? There you go. Been going on Facebook. I think what I'm going to do is just kind of do a live sector today for the rest of our session at this moment, and then we'll get into another 20 minutes of great stuff. I can show you some of the stuff from Whammy as well. We're going to come up with that. And birthdays. Today, we'd like to say happy birthday out there. I want to get to that. This is a good segment for birthdays here. I want to get you to see them. Where are they? I usually have my sector up here for it. Oh, I guess I didn't put it in. I'll add it in here for you guys. So we'd like to say happy birthday to Mr. Jeff Slike, former Wolfpack drummer, and Saving Savannah as well. He's an online superstar as well. You might not have known this. He actually makes his living doing stuff for online support for social media as well. So a big happy birthday out there to Mr. Jeff Slike. That's right. Cousin Jake, my cousin Jake out there having a birthday. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go right on here and tell Jeff Slike happy birthday. There we go. I think he deserves it. Also, former Whammy president and still going strong, Mr. John Erdl. Happy birthday to you. Right on. Mike Hetzel, drummer of the Rush Tribute Group from Brookfield, Wisconsin as well. Happy birthday to you. Excellent guy. Got a studio in Brookfield. You guys should check him out. Mike Hetzel. I will put their names up here just so you get them. Let's put her in there, get you guys squared away. Mr. John Erdl in there. Mike Hetzel. I'm pointing out a lot of the musicians in the house are very proud friends with a number of these people. John, I consider one of my mentors when it comes to what choices I've made in my career. So hopefully it was successful enough, right? Good friend of mine, worked together with him in the day jobs, Mr. Darnell Pulfus up there in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Happy birthday to you as well. So glad, hopefully you guys get a chance to join this, see this, and know that you are well received and recognized. We love you guys. Put out that music going on. We need some. Going through it. Old friend, Mr. David Lang. Happy birthday to you. Keith Shaw, sound guy for the Wolfpack and lots of other bands out of the Fox Valley area. Keith Shaw, you're 51 years old today. Don Enert, my old high school buddy, happy birthday to you. And, of course, to my good friend Kathy and her twin sister Carrie, your birthday was yesterday. Happy birthday to you. My friend Ben Garski, bartender extraordinaire, and now kicking butt, doing so many things for his family locally here in Wisconsin Rapids. He's got a snow removal and he's amazing. He does our own snow removal here and landscaping and does a wonderful job, mostly lawn service, but just every time he does my lawn, it's killer. So you all give it up for Ben Garski out there, a good friend of mine. Going down the list of birthdays as I can see them. These are all local Wisconsin people, folks. Mr. Richard Ledke of Waupaca County board president and the fair over there. Happy birthday to you, sir. That was yesterday. Chris Pipkins out there, saxophone player. Happy birthday to you. Oscar Wheeler, the big O, sings for you out of Milwaukee. Happy birthday to you. That was 2 days ago. So happy belated birthday to these folks right here. Layla Tracy, she had Layla's here in Wisconsin Rapids. Unfortunately, she was moved on from having her own place, but still living a great life. So happy birthday to you, Layla, belated as well. Mr. Mike Gleason, guitar player extraordinaire down there in the southeast Wisconsin. Happy birthday to you. Good friend Clint Birch as well. Happy birthday. Nancy Andrus of the Andrus Limousine family. Nancy, happy birthday to you. Jessica Martinez, friend up here from softball and from Johnny's. Happy birthday to you as well. Al Corton, your birthday was 2 days ago. Good supporter of live music up in Stevens Point and has his own shop up there, Corton's Fine Gifts. So check him out up in Stevens Point. Happy birthday to you, sir. So the birthdays are running wild. Chuck Hurtini, 3 days ago. I didn't have an episode back then, so I'm covering all of these. Chuck Hurtini, good friend of mine, drummer of Broken Arrow, one of the first bands I ever worked with. Happy birthday to you. Tina Melvin, Louis Hickenbottom, Louis Higgins from ACA. Happy birthday to you as well. Belated. And some coming up, some good friends coming up tomorrow. I'll put those on an episode tomorrow. Birthdays coming up all the way around. You've been watching What Are We Talking About, Jeff? On DAHL Media. Don't forget to like and subscribe like crazy. Ha! So I'll tell you, the things they want to talk about, the things I want to talk about are kind of crazy. It's stupid stuff in Jeff's head for 200, Alex. What are we talking about, Jeff? Dang. That's right. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Like and subscribe or follow on Facebook and all types of other places you can find us out there on DAHL Media as well. So we've been jumping out into the local music scene, and you got to see Jay Mathis earlier now. And, of course, we talked about the Bucks, the Badgers. Nothing about the Brewers yet, but, it's spring training. I'll toss this out there for the Brewers if I'm gonna keep going on some of the sports stuff. We'll talk about I would say Lauer is probably our only question right now. He had a little rough outing this past week, got touched up for a number of runs, but Woodruff looked great in his first 2 innings, looked really strong. So Eric Lauer just working out some details on the things he's going to be dealing with this year. I think he'll be fine. He's just got to get into his groove and get rolling. He'll be awesome. Hiya, Brenda Bach. Good to see you. Thanks for saying hi on the chat lines here, and hopefully you guys can too. Jump out there and let me know if you're out there and about there catching my show today. All on the stat lines. Hopefully we got in here. I'm just making sure on some of our stuff where we're streaming with you guys today. We are out there on LinkedIn. Hopefully, a big shout out to the LinkedIn crew out there. We're also on my personal page. Good to see you guys. DAHL Media Wisconsin on YouTube and Facebook. So we're streaming at many different places. I definitely want to start having groups that want to join in and share and stretch this thing out a little bit more for all you Wisconsin fans out there. People who are just totally immersed in what's going on in Wisconsin, needing some news. That's kind of where I'm at with this show is things that I experience coming from a Wisconsin perspective. We'll have to get some funnies in here, you guys. I got to get some funnies in here. I had a Canada funny that I just saw, and I don't want to get too profane with stuff, but sometimes some of the funniest jokes, they might have a little bit of profanity in them. So I'm going to try and lay some of that out there, but there, knowing I talk as northern as I do, I'm just about there with the northern. When you hear me, I don't say there, I say dare sometimes, and it's funny. Now, if I sit in Nashville for 5 minutes, I'll be talking like I'm down south real quick. They say Tennessee is when they talk real fast like this, and if you go to Texas, it's just because they slow down from the heat. So having my coffee. Hope you guys are having your coffee this morning. Come on. Well, yeah, what's to talk about? You guys toss me some great things to talk about out there on Facebook if you can, and love to see your comments and be able to reply to them now. I hate trying to go back and having to reply to you after the time has passed, because you get a tough time trying to remember what the heck you were talking about. But I'll spend my time looking back at these and try to reply to everybody I can. I talked about WWMI. The awards voting for the members now is going on all the way through March here. And I can announce that they officially asked me to do the memorials again this year, and I'm so proud to be a part of that. And my view of the memorials was always this. My view of the memorials, to me, it was probably the best thing. I would say it in kind of a way, it's probably it's probably the most important thing to be a part of to me. That I'm so proud of. It's the most important award you ever give out. I feel like I respect so many people that came before me, that paved the way for me to even have a career, for any of these guys to have a place to play. Some of those are owners of venues. Some of those were musicians that played there before, that maybe took the hacks and took the blows of being told you're not good enough, or took the alleys of being really good and just carving that ahead of us. Some people that maybe don't get talked about enough now get their day or night in the sun, under the stars, under the lights. All different cliches you could toss into that, but for sure, some of my most memorable, as far as famous, one thing that Wisconsin, we like to do in WWMI, that I get why we do it. One of the big things that WWMI will do is attach themselves to those who are from Wisconsin that have nationally done something important. And so, I mean, we it's so awesome to see them do that. We even collect our friends like Steve Miller, who he lives in Arizona most of his life, but he was born here in Wisconsin, and so we're proud to have him in the Hall of Fame. And Leland Sklar on bass is in the Hall of Fame as well. So I haven't had to do their memorials yet, thank God. But I think some of my most memorable, obviously, would be Les Paul in 2010. And, of course, Clyde Stubblefield was a big name that when you talk about them, you get gummed up like, wow. I mean, just the works they've done in their career, right? But then you think about it, and the people that don't get their name out there a whole lot, that probably played as many gigs as those people, but never made it quite as famous. One of my most memorable has to be Keith Pulvermacher's dad, and this year Keith will be on that list, sadly enough. So I will send that out right now. I know Keith is going to be on that list. It's going to mean a lot. He was a pioneer for some of us of our era now in trying to push back and really start doing original music again. And he had something to say, and he said it loud in the smallest rooms. He said it loud in the biggest rooms. And then he was definitely one of the first ones to really show the charity event thing that we're seeing now. He went out there and started his charity, and it has snowballed since. And now Whammy's definitely a part of a number of those charities, including Guitars for Vets. This time tomorrow is another big one now. And I got to think that Keith was one of the first ones when he found out he had cancer that that just really used the smallest window that we had of media for a local artist and just made the most of it. So that's definitely one of them that I'll get to talk about this year that can make it hard, but I feel like if I have the last word on any musician, it's going to be of the utmost respect and the utmost belief in who they were and how strong they mean to us as an industry and as a person. So one of the memories I have was doing Keith's dad's funeral. And I didn't do the funeral directly. I did the memorials when he was in them. And it was probably one of the more poignant ones I remember being a part of. The emotion at the exact time that his dad's face came up just changed my perspective on what I was doing in the memorials as well. Notable for me, Mr. Mike Spellman was on the same year as Les Paul, so we didn't get a chance to shine a huge light on his time, but I did a song at Keith's dad's, which would have been the 10-year anniversary, that was a hearken to Mikey as upside down, backwards, left-handed bass guitar. I did Toby Keith's Crying for Me, which was a dedication to Wayman Tisdale, his good friend, who was a jazz bass player after his basketball career. And they were good friends, and he did that song, and it just happened to have a line that would describe Mikey. And that line kind of came up when Keith's dad came up on the screen. So you can see how big of a deal that was, like it's just all those respects of people that we just really cared about coming into one moment. And if we can make moments like that in Wisconsin, we'll remember so much more about Wisconsin music. And to me, that's my driving force of being in music at all, is making memories for other people and doing things that can uplift somebody to keep going and keep trying harder. And to me, talking about those who have gone on also lets them live on. So to me, it's one of my favorite things to do, and they've asked me to do it for quite a while. And Jason, just want to thank you so much for the phone call we had the other day, and the way he asked was so genuinely presented and just very kind. It was amazing. It made me choke up a little bit. It means a lot to me, and I think that's why. Ron Books, everybody over there at the Whammy board for asking. I'll do my best to make respect. And I hope everybody else, when you're at the award show, give that time of silence. Understand what came before us. Because we don't go where we go without those people paving it before us. Now we know what it's like as a musician struggling with physical issues, medical issues is the term I wanted to say. And we saw it firsthand with Keith quite a bit right out in front of us. Tommy Graywolf had a tough time with his melanoma as well, and when you walk in a path with them, it puts a new respect in what you're going through in life as well, and don't take it for granted. So I certainly don't. One of my first ones was Mr. Jerry Allen. That was the first one I did in 2003. They asked me, I was nominated for the first time. I wasn't a member, didn't know much about the Whammy organization, but they asked me, I believe in 2004, to do a direct memorial for Jerry, and then they had them watch the other names. The write-up that I did of Jerry was personal enough because Jerry and I parted on tougher circumstances. You know, in this business, you choose to go a direction in your career, not to spite another direction of your career, but it can put a wrench into someone else's day when you choose to go a different direction. And it's so hard. One of the hardest lessons to learn in this business is the idea that when you make a choice that steers a complete different direction from the friends you've made in the business, and it hurts some of their business to an extent, it actually hurts you inside to not be able to do what you want to do with them as well. But you realize you have to make a sacrifice for your career to go in another direction and have it be successful. Jerry asked me to play a show that I'd played a number of times, and I was booked with my country band for the first time. And it was hard for me to say no, that I couldn't do both, and I couldn't give myself two places at one time. And Jerry took that as a slight that I wouldn't be there for him. I'm not sure if we truly get reconciliation. We never had a chance to talk after that. And I would come to find out that he would talk with a preacher from a Catholic church, and in his last 2 weeks, he accepted God as his savior, Jesus as his savior, and you know, the things he thought he made mistakes in life, he truly wanted before he passed on. He truly confessed his feelings and his sins, and was sorry for a lot of things. And I never got that chance to tell him that I love him to death and he was a great guy, and that I felt so bad about that day. So when the memorials came, I guess I got that moment, and they were so nice to give me a moment with him. And so I'll always talk about Jerry in a light that, you know, he gave me one of my first starts with a band. That band being Shag right now, and the boys from Shag, shout out to you. You were one of the first that I ever got to play with. And so, I mean, you have dreams of making your career start. You have people you take advice from. You have people who recommend you. Kim Marie recommended me to Jerry that I'd be a perfect Buddy Holly, and I never looked at that in my life that was true. And Jerry made it happen on Kim's recommendation. So Kim Marie, here's to you. Shag, here's to you. Andy Medved, to you as well. Appreciate the start. And so Jerry gave me that, and it was so amazing when Tracy Steffens asked me if I would like to do a memorial specifically for Jerry, because so many people knew him around here. He was a transplant. He was a New York boy that loved Elvis, and he came here and helped a lot of people decide they were going to step up what they were doing when it came to how they were playing in a band. Even though he didn't play an instrument, he sang. But he certainly loved the business enough to tell people they needed to get their butts going. And he found a way to make guys get out there and do what they were doing and do it well. And he gave us an example to start with for a lot of us in the early 2000s of just trying to learn the music business. Honestly, Jane Taylor, I know, got a chance to sing in his show a number of times. And she's just a great dynamic girl doing the oldies and doing that style still. And just awesome to watch your career grow, Jane. So here's to Jane Taylor. So you can see where that 1 degree of separation and why the memorials mean so much to me is I can name you 6, 7, 8 other people because of that moment. Well, that would happen another year later with Mark Prenier. When I came back from Nashville, I had nothing. And I knew I needed to learn how to read musicians, and I knew I needed to just go play with a band. And so I had karaoke. I ran a company at the time, and I went to an open jam in East Troy because a bartender told me she was out there, and she said, "Come on out. This guy's a great guitar player. He's a good friend of mine named Mark Prenier." And her name was Marianne. So she always went by, or he always went by the professor. So he was the professor and she was Marianne. And I watched her sing a couple of songs. They let me get up, sing a couple of songs, and I was mediocre at best, but it was kind of thrilling to be a part of it. And so I just kept talking to Mark from then on, just, hey, what do I do? Who can I talk to? And we would have a small circle of people we would start meeting that he would just introduce me to so many people. Bobby Way, Mike Spellman. I would meet O.C. Woods and Terry Michaels. And I could, you talk about the jams over in Brookfield and everything like that. Well, Mark would pass away. And by the time Mark passed away, Mike Spellman was in my group, and they were really good friends. So there's a shot of me. If you'll ever see it, I don't know if I could pull it up now. Maybe I got it. I'll look for that here while we're hanging out. There's a shot of me we had the Northern Lights Theater for the award show, which was amazing. It felt so good to be in that room. It was one of my first experiences being in the Northern Lights Theater, and I'll never forget it. But there's a shot of me doing the memorials, and they say the no-nos are live fire on stage is never good, and another one is drinking real alcohol on stage is never good. But there's a shot of me holding up a shot of Rumble Mints. My buddy So there's a shot of me online, which I'm going to go to now. Pardon the pause there, everybody. There's a shot of me online. Let's see if I can find it. This is high pressure, but it's good filler, right? Where my buddy comes up, Tracy, and he goes, "Hey, you want me to bring you a shot for that?" And I was like, if there's anybody who used to do it, he would say on the count of 3, "Salud." And, he'd say on the count of 3, 3, and they'd drink. He wouldn't bother counting it off. And, okay, so let's see if I can find it. I might have it here. I'll show you guys what I'm looking at in a second here, just going through some of the memories. I'll show you the Buddy Holly days too. So just some fun stuff. I hope you don't mind looking at this. This is stupid stuff about Jeff literally at this moment. But here's my Facebook. If you go out and see it, you'll see a lot of this history. And I'm going to share this with you. So this was the Buddy Holly days from back in the day. I'll show you that as I go through all my crazy pictures. This was one of the early Buddy Holly days. You can see Chuck Travis in the background there, but this was me doing Buddy Holly. And my old guitar player Randy, my buddy Randy, there was a show we did where I was backed up by the Wolfpack, and there was pennies thrown onto the stage that I completely missed. and so he just had to point that out. Is this the show that we did that with? And so, yeah, that was me doing Buddy Holly there. This was the things that Jerry got me doing. This was a few years later, I believe, with Tony Rocker. But, yeah, I did the Buddy Holly thing for about 13 years, and Jerry was one of the main guys I did that show with. Just some of the memories were so amazing. And then the Mark Prenier days and Mike Spellman. So this is when I was doing the awards for Prenier. I was wearing that jacket, I should say. This was 2008 when we won Country Band. But, yeah, gosh. So I would meet Mike, and then I would start running karaoke to the point I'd start a band called Geoff Landon the Wolfpack. And that would meet so many people. And I remember a few years later, I did a memorial for, oh gosh, what year was it? We were in Appleton by this time, and a tragic incident had happened where a singer from a group named Corey passed away. And it was one of the rare lights in Wisconsin music, but it happens all over in the national scene, right? And you just don't pay attention to it in your smaller market. You don't see people struggling with drug addictions quite the same way, or if we do, we know it and we only talk about it in our circles. We don't point it out. And honestly, I'm not even going to say anything about anybody, but this particular one was very hard. He died of a cocaine overdose. And I just didn't know what to say. I was like, how do you... And so I wanted to point out the tragedy of it all, that if you know somebody that's going through trouble, find them, hold them, get them help, something. And I didn't want to talk directly about what it was, but I did say something in that specific moment. I didn't know completely his history or what bands he was with, except that his band was actually playing that night. And they were one of the featured ones, the Traveling Suitcase. And Nicholas, if you're out there, you know what I'm talking about. Nicholas Raymond was the drummer. Now at this time, Nicholas was in a transition. Nicholas, being born female, has transitioned and is now male. But was my first experience meeting you, and I felt that tender side that night. When I got done with the memorials, I was making my way back around. There was nobody around, and Nicholas came up to me and gave me the biggest hug. And I realized at that moment, she said, "Thank you. Corey was our lead singer, and he meant so much to us, and we just did not see it coming." And that was the hardest day ever for me, because it was like a direct moment, of making a difference in someone's life. Nicholas is now playing like crazy, and hopefully Traveling Suitcase, who was an amazing group. I remember Mark Goldie leaned over to me and says, "What do you think of them now? What genre would you put them?" I said, "I don't know, they're in their own." And he says, "Yeah, they're great, aren't they?" And I made a big review of that whole award show, because the Ditch Runners were in that show, and Traveling Suitcase was in that show, and many just people who moved my career that day were in that show. And it was very vivid to me what Nicholas had done, and I'll never forget it. And to me, that's why we do what we do. We are musicians. We are caring people. We are people who are mad. We are people who are sad. We're just real people that put it into our music every day. And the memorials teach me that every time I do them. So I want to thank Whammy for that opportunity. And pardon me, you guys, I'll gather myself together. It's horrible. You've been watching What Are We Talking About, Jeff? I want to do a quick rundown, you guys. Sorry, give me a sec. I'm going to give you a station break. You guys, thanks for watching. So I'll tell you, the things they want to talk about, the things I want to talk about are kind of crazy. It's stupid stuff in Jeff's head for 200, Alex. What are we talking about, Jeff?
Dang.
Well, thanks you guys for watching. Like and subscribe. I got a little emotional. Here's to you. Hope you're having your coffee this morning, or water if you can get it. Maybe one day we'll talk about what's on the shelf over here and what's on the shelf right here. Some stories to tell you. I've got a bunch of them. We got another episode to come, you guys. Stick around and watch. We're going to do the big rundown here, you guys, of what the show was about, so you get a chance to see it again. If you get to the end, you'll know. So the big rundown, looking back, and the fixes episode breakdown, everybody. We were talking about the birthdays in the house. Jeff Slag, John Ertl, Mike Hetzel, and many more had their great birthdays this past weekend. Giannis and the Bucks, we were talking about that. And Giannis's little rebound to get his triple-double. Funny. I don't know. To me, it's fun. There are going to be people that might try to villainize him. I don't think it's going to work. He's too nice of a guy, too good of a guy to not want him to have that success. Carter and his 3 barrages. The Badgers getting a big win against Minnesota going into the tournament. Remember, the basketball tournament coming this weekend. We've got all the conference tournaments, and the ladies are starting right now. The men are starting next weekend. So get ready for March Madness. It's already starting. Talked about high school sports in Marion and Port Edwards going down to Pacelli in succeeding days. Pacelli looking strong in a number 2 seed. So my alma mater and my wife's alma mater kind of went down hard this week, but very proud of those 2 schools. Talked about Chase Elliott being out in the NASCAR race, and yet Hendricks dominating that race with the Toyotas figuring it out late in the race. The Minnesota Vikings having to clear some cap space. Going to be doing a bunch of moves in the next week, just talking about that as well. My artist of the day, Mr. Jay Mathis. A look back at the rundown of this episode 12. And a look at Whammy and all the things they're starting to do now and the opportunity to do the memorials. So thank you so much, you guys, for watching. Like and subscribe. We'll see you soon. Oh, man, what a show. What a show. Good day to you.
Dang.
That's kind of it.